So just that is great. And it was, interestingly enough, this was my third audition for Motherland. I had auditioned for the role of Berryessa previously, which the audition went well. Yeah, I know. The audition went well. I just wasn't a fit. And I love that they decided to go with Jill. I think she's doing an amazing job. And then my second audition for Motherland was to audition for the Aquafit teacher. And I think it's episode 2 or 3, you know, when the spree goes in the pool and freezes the pool. And it was just a one-liner audition, and it had gone so poorly just for a one-liner. I had forgotten my line, and it was just one line. And I was so happy to get a call to audition for Motherland, for Isadora, because I thought for sure this casting director is never going to ever call me back, because like I did really poorly on a one-liner, you know. But she's so kind, and she was gracious enough to call me back for Isadora. And so when you get an audition, you only have usually one day to prepare, 24 hours. If you're lucky, you have 48 hours. And I had to prepare both scenes with Porter. So the teaching scene where I'm preparing his body, and the small interview scene when he's being resurrected. And I was so grateful to have the chance to audition in front of this casting director again, after having done so poorly the week before, that I like gave it my all. And I really prepared well, but also once I got to the audition, I just had this kind of centered, laissez-faire, what has to happen will happen attitude, which is, I think, what we need, you know, in this acting world. We need to just trust the prep and then just be free in the moment. And I felt very good in the audition, and I felt like it was magical. I felt like I could see the bird. I felt all my senses were so on. I felt really, really happy, to the point where I got out of that room and I thought, even if I don't get it, I really did my job here, and I feel very, very, very good about it. And then it took like maybe a week, and then my agent was like, you're on hold. So that means that you're getting approved by the producers and or the network. They might put 1, 2, or 3 actresses on hold at that point. And then if you get the part, then you get the part. And the dream starts. But it was really interesting to work on Motherland, which is a new series. So Isadora arrives in episode 4, but I had no idea. You know, you only get your scenes. So, and you get a little character description. And what I remember from the description was that she was a powerful witch. She's a necro teacher, and she has maternal force. So those are the 3 things that were used to describe Isadora. And then from there, I just decided to make choices that I thought would make sense.
That's amazing. And actually, you know, it's one of those, you know, as it turns out, flubbing that one line was probably the best thing that probably could have happened, because I can't imagine anyone else playing Isadora. Like, it's such a perfect fit for you, and like that character is such an interesting character versus like the one-off of the you could have come and gone in our lives, we wouldn't have known. So
yeah, no, I think, you know, everything happens for a reason, and I got really lucky there for sure. Yeah. And I'm really grateful to this casting director for like giving me a chance, you know, to come back. Yeah.
So I'm curious, you know, as this sort of the season evolved, right? Like, how did your understanding of Isadora change? Like, even the word necro, like, were you really plugged into like what that meant? I mean, you're probably like, well, it's something to do with the dead, but did you really have a sense of the magic system or everything going in, or did you have to make a lot of it? Like, you got to set and then had to kind of pick up, like, you know, what the other actors had done?
Yeah, at some point you have to, because like I, for example, like I hadn't read episode 1, 2, and 3. So like I remember my first day on set, I was quite nervous. I hadn't been on set for 5 years. And this was a big scene, like shooting the teaching scene to my necro students, you know, because there was a lot of people involved. It was a big set. I think we were upwards of 200 people on set that day. So, And I remember meeting Amalia and just like loving her and asking her question, like trying to like push my questions to her so that she could help me, with the scene. But also, yeah, the I think it was Depenna. Anyways, the person who wrote that episode was on set that day and gave me a few hints, and so did the director. But to answer your question, because I don't think I did. Yeah, no, I researched Necro on my own. I didn't meet Elliot till later on that summer, and I just had to make my own choices. Yeah, yeah, and also I have to say, like working in that space with the amazing work of like everybody who made that space so real, and the props department like bringing me like very intricate like water bottle to spray the water on Porter's eyes, and like all the choices, and the tremendous work that goes into all of the other department that we don't really think about when we see an image, really just made it come to life for me. Yeah. And working with a bird, I mean, how
That's a
amazing
pretty
is
crazy
that?
scene. Yeah. Like I remember watching the episode being like, I was like, what's happening? Oh my God, where's the, I mean, it was really well, like really good special effects. However they did that, like it looked incredible. I was like,
I
wow,
know,
really
right?
went down the throat. Like, how did they do that? Like,
Uh, so actually, so we had two cages. We had a cage with a real bird and a cage with a fake bird. And so there's a person who's there just for that prop. And so like we would take a wide take where the bird was alive, take other takes where it was the fake bird, and then at the end, there's a special effect person that comes on set and uses like a 360 ball made of mirror, it looks like. And then they shoot the trajectory of the bird with that ball. And then they go in special effect and replace the image. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm talking like if I know anything about this. I don't know anything about this. I'm just reporting what I saw. So, like, I guess like that 360 mirror thing, is something that they can now go back and work and edit the image of. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
So, from the entire season, what was your favorite scene?
That's a tough question. I have two.
We are fine with two then.
Yeah, okay. Can I have two? Okay, great. I really appreciated the one-on-one scene with Raelle when I tell her that Scylla's dead. Yeah, again, Taylor's an amazing actress, and I just felt like there was unspoken communication and strength like uniting us. So I really felt deeply connected to her in that scene, which I think shows when I watch the footage, because like even though I'm lying to her, Isadora is lying to her, Isadora is an extremely compassionate person, and she's very empathetic, and so it was hard to have to lie to her, and it was hard to know how much this would hurt. And then my second scene, I mean, the linking lesson. I loved that day. I think that was like my favorite day on set. It was so much fun. And also like it happened like in a moment in the season where I had already shot episode 4 and 6, so I was a bit more relaxed. Like the crew started knowing who I was, and like people start recognizing you start feeling at ease a little bit more. So the nerves of being back on set were gone, so I was just really present with the work, and it was just thrilling. I mean, I got to work with special effect, like there was people there just for the blood, and I got to work with a stunt coordinator for the knife. It was also my first and only scene working with the full trio, right? Because it's the first, other than Libba's funeral, it's the only scene where I get to interact with Tally and Abigail. So it was really great to be on set with everyone. And I just love that scene. I mean, I know it's controversial probably because, you know, Isadora is so kind and then she's slipping somebody's throat, but I think she made her point, and linking is really important, and nobody in that class is going to forget how about linking. So I mean, she
You're also
did
never
have
going to volunteer again.
Yeah.
yes, perhaps, but you know. Yeah, so that was a really fun day.
What was your reaction when you got the script and you're flipping through and you're like, Isadora does what? Like,
I know. Well, I remember actually, I think I was shooting episode 6 when I got the scene for episode 7, and like, I didn't get the chance to pre-read. I only pre-read like for 20 minutes while having my lunch break because I was shooting episode 6, and we were going in to read for network episode 7 in the afternoon. So like we usually take a 1 hour from 2 to 3 a Friday afternoon, and then the episode starts shooting on the Monday. So I was like, oh, that's great. I'm going to be in this episode. Fantastic. And then I'm slipping through it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what's happening? And then like, I'm trying to have I'm trying to have lunch. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't eat. I have to like, what's happening to Isadora? But it's so great. It's so great that I get to experience all of these different facets of her. Yeah.
I will say, you know, the scene you were mentioning in episode 6 with Taylor, I feel like that's where, like, you know, just to, you know, I think what you felt watching it was like how we felt as an audience member. Just, you know, like I felt like that was where I really felt like I really noticed Isadora for the first time, because you are so dynamic in that scene. And I think that's why at the end, when it's revealed, you come in and you're, you know, sort of complicit in torturing Scylla. I was like, oh, that bitch. Like, I was so upset because I was, you know, Anacostia I knew was in on it, but like Isadora had been so kind in that scene to Raelle that like you totally had me fooled. Like my mind was blown at the end of episode 6 when Isadora strolled in. I was like, oh.
Yeah, I think Isadora is very aware of, she's very aware of rank, and she really is devoted to the army. So I feel like, but it doesn't change the fact that she is a very kind-hearted and empathetic person, even though she has to do things sometimes that she doesn't feel like doing. I think like we saw in episode 8, like in the war room, like, you know, or even when she brings up the box, the Camarilla vocal fold box to Alder, you know, like she's really aware of her rank, but it doesn't mean that, you know, I think she has a kindness to her, which I think is important, because other characters in this army world, they don't all have that kindness. I think, like I'm talking like in the not adult, but I mean, you know, like in the in the teachers, you know, teacher worlds. Yeah.